Good evening, Dragon families. Oh my gosh, it's so great to be with you tonight. Happy New Year. I hope everyone had a wonderful and restful holiday and winter break. Thank you so much for joining us tonight for this important Facebook Live event. Tonight, the Carroll ISD School Board and the administration is really excited for the opportunity to introduce you to our new superintendent and have an opportunity for him to be able to share more about himself and his family and his journey here to Dragon Nation. So we are excited to have Dr. Lane Ledbetter with us on day 3 of his new position. So, of course, we wish we could have done this event in person, but due to current restrictions with COVID and large gatherings, we thought this was the next best option and would allow more people in the community to join and to listen in. So those of you who are watching live on Facebook, please feel free, if you have questions, to submit them in the comment section, and we are going to do our very best to get to as many questions as possible. What we will likely do is group those questions that are of a similar topic together so we can definitely work our way through them. But I will be back in a bit to ask some of your questions of our new superintendent. But first, we wanted to give him the opportunity to introduce himself and tell a little bit about his story and his journey back to Carroll ISD. So with that, though, we invited a very familiar face that we all love to have that conversation with Dr. Ledbetter. So I'm excited to welcome Dr. Lane Ledbetter and Dr. David Faltys to tonight's chat. Gentlemen, good evening.
Hello, hello.
Good evening.
So we have, Dr. Ledbetter, you're on day 3 of your time here in Carroll ISD, and Dr. Faltys, you're on official day 3 of retirement.
Right. I know, it's hard to believe.
So, I know it is, right? But we are excited for 2021. I think everyone was excited for 2021 to roll in. So with that, I'm going to exit and let you all kind of talk about family, talk about, kind of what you see coming forward. And then I'll be back in a little bit to kind of go through the Q&A.
Awesome.
Hi, Dr. Faltys.
Hey, how are you doing? You excited?
Absolutely. You look well rested.
Absolutely. You know, I am fairly well rested. I don't know that I've had a full night's sleep in a long time. So this has been great. It's been good.
Good. Well, I just want to say good evening to everyone out there in Dragon Nation. Look forward to the conversation tonight and just getting a chance to share a little bit more about me and Carroll ISD and why I'm so excited to be here. So
awesome. Well, Dr. Ledbetter, Lane, I appreciate you letting me be here tonight, and I just want to officially welcome you to the district. I know you've had a great couple of days. I've enjoyed seeing on social media you getting out there and being with kids and staff, and I know you're going to be sharing some things with tonight with the community and of course with the board next week. But I just first of all want to say welcome and thank you for letting me be part of this. After being here and serving this community for 15 years, I can tell you it is as you know, it's an incredible place. It's a really special place with special families. It's a special community, but most of all, incredible kids. You're going to find yourself in awe every day, multiple times, about how great the kids are, the great things that they do, the great people that they are, and the great families that they come from. So with that, and I will say it's also been awesome being a part of this community for my family. And that's been a huge part of our time here, is just the support and education and everything, the opportunities you get with your family. And so I'd like to ask you, tell us a little bit about your family and your history and about your kiddos and what you bring to Carroll ISD.
okay, well, I'll start out and say that, so as far as what I've done in the past that brought me to Carroll ISD, I started out as, of course, a teacher and a coach, taught for a semester in Lake Travis, but then immediately got to South Lake Carroll. And prior to that was at Grapevine Collegeville for a couple of years, then had a chance to teach and coach here at Carroll High School for 2 or 3 years. And then went to Carroll ISD, where I kind of started my administrative journey as an assistant principal, and then worked my way up to middle school principal, high school principal, and then eventually assistant superintendent, and then made the journey out west a little bit to Graham, Texas, where I was superintendent for 3 years, and then moved on to Midlothian, where I'm coming from at this point. Was in Midlothian for the last 6 years. But I tell you, I'm in this profession because of my family. I think both my mom and dad were educators, and I think just the growing up in that environment and seeing the impact that both my parents had on the students, whether it was in my mom's elementary classroom or my dad at the high school and coaching, and the impact he had on the kids that he worked with. I know that is the reason that I'm where I am today, because I have obviously I have a true passion for kids, a passion for this profession, and I know I'm in the right place, and I love what I do. And so it's just exciting to be here in a position, in a place where I went to school, had an opportunity to be involved in Carroll ISD many years ago, and then also to teach, and now to come back as superintendent. So very excited about that, and very excited about just having this opportunity. So I think that it's kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity, really, to come back to a place like this. I think when you look at the reputation of Carroll ISD, like you just mentioned, Dr. Faltys, and you've done some amazing things here over the last several years. And from my experiences here many years ago, the district has just continued to the reputation has just continued to grow and grow and grow over time. And just the expectations of the parents and the community is just tremendous. But I'll go back to what you said. I think the students and the parents, and just a little time that I've been here now, for the 3 days I've been here, it's just really been pretty amazing. And just the interactions that I've had just with the kids, and then also with some of the parents, and then with the staff. But just from a personal experience, I will tell you that my own kids, I have a junior this year, and I have a ninth grader who went ahead, a ninth grade daughter, 11th grade boy, who went ahead and made the transition. And that's pretty tough. You can imagine making that transition in high school. And they have come home the last 2 days. I have not talked to them today, but the 2 day, Monday and Tuesday, they had couldn't have been more positive with their classes, with their teachers, with the kids the students that they've met, and just the relationships that they're already starting to build. So my wife and I, that was probably sure, a change in job is difficult, and transitioning from a district, but that anxiety you have for your own kids when they make a change like this and going into a school, I couldn't ask for a better transition for the two of them over the last 2 days. And that's a testament to, once again, what you said earlier, the type of people, the parents and the community and the students that we have in Carroll ISD.
No, absolutely. And I experienced the same thing. And like you said, it's an incredibly welcoming community. It's an incredibly welcoming staff. We have, our kids are great. When we came here, we kind of moved a child in 10th grade, and then all the way down to a 9-month-old. And it is great to be welcomed. And I know everybody's excited to have you here, excited to have you home. We've watched your career from afar, know some of the great things you've done. And of course, I know personally many of the people that you've worked with and worked for over the years who speak so highly of you. And so we're just excited that you're here. And so we're excited for tonight so that people get to know you a little more. And with that, I'm going to re-invite Michelle Moore back out, and she's going to give you an opportunity to dive in a little bit more on some questions that have either come in early or they're coming in even as we speak. And we'll work through this, and hopefully it won't be too rapid fire for you, but I know you're the man to handle it. So again, I'll say welcome and good luck.
Thank you.
All right, so now we're going to start that Q&A, and I think there's some questions that are already coming in through the Facebook feed. So let's see, here we go. So Dr. Ledbetter, what are some of your favorite memories from your time as a dragon? That's a good question.
That is a great question. And, obviously I think that was back in the 1980s. I know that's hard to believe. It's hard to even say that. I graduated in 1989. And so the memory, I think, obviously the memories that come to mind are really just the relationships that I had with, obviously, my friends and the teachers, and just obviously Carroll ISD was much smaller back then. At that time, it was a 3A district. In fact, my graduating class, I believe we had about 120 to 130 students in it. So much smaller than it is today. So I think just the memories is just how close everyone was, because the campus was fairly small. And so, you had a relation, you knew everybody on the campus, you knew everybody in the school, and very much like it is today, a lot evolved around the activities. And so when I think about memories from school, it's the activities that I was involved in, it's the things that were happening in the school. So I participated in a lot of things with athletics. I won't say I was a very good athlete, but at the time it was small enough that everyone got to participate. So I got to be a part of a lot of things. I did not play football my senior year, but that was the year that we won the first state championship in 1988. And so just being a part of the school at that time, and being in just watching the pride that was developed at that time, the pride in Carroll ISD and the pride in being a Dragon, I think has obviously grown over the last 30 years since that time. And I think that was kind of really a kickoff to the foundation of what Carroll is today. Just the pride in being a Dragon and the relationships, and just great teachers that cared about kids, teachers that are passionate about students and passionate and caring about kids. And so I think that was, just the relationships I had with my teachers and just the memories of that is really those are things that really come to mind. Just the school spirit and just being a part of Carroll High School and Carroll ISD.
Yeah. So. I love that. Well, hopefully we will have another, state championship here around the bend.
Absolutely.
And just to remind our audience, we did prepare some questions in advance, so that we'll get through some of those, but just in case you're not seeing some of these questions in the feed, but felt that they were just important questions that we wanted Dr. Ledbetter to address for the community. So now kind of switching to the city of Southlake, I mean, how have you seen that change since, and we talked about this earlier, changed since you were in school here?
Wow. So it has changed drastically, and it's hard to believe that it has, has grown the way that it has. So I was talking to Ms. Moore earlier, and, we talked about the fact that when 1709 used to be a little 2-lane road, the Southlake Boulevard that ran through the town, it didn't run through the town because there wasn't much of a town at that time. Highway 114 was just a 2-lane highway. In fact, there was one stoplight right there at Carroll and 114 that you had to go through. Other than that, there was not much in Southlake. So it was, we had really the 3 schools, Carroll Elementary, Carroll Middle School, and then the high school. And eventually, so I was in the first class, the first 5th grade class at Johnson Elementary School. So when the school opened that year, we moved in there. I believe it was either Christmas or it may have been even spring break. So we were only in there for a few weeks, but I did actually go to Johnson Elementary School for a couple months, but that was one of the few schools there. So I think it's the First Baptist Church up there right now. That's where I went to elementary, and then actually that was middle school at the time. Once Johnson Elementary opened, so a lot of changes. Obviously, there were very few restaurants, very few stores. I can remember having to drive. We'd go into Grapevine, obviously, to do things, or into Keller to grab, whether it was fast food or a restaurant, that type of thing. Yeah. So it has definitely grown a lot since I was in school at that time.
All right, here we have our first Facebook question. Where are the COVID numbers for the schools? I guess our families are looking for updates. And I don't know if I know we have our dashboard, and I don't, has that been updated, or when will that be updated? Do you know?
I believe it was updated actually this afternoon on the dashboard. Okay. So, and remember that those are totals that we've been receiving since, since the Christmas holiday, since the winter break. So those numbers are, they'll be finalizing those over the next day or two, but I believe it was updated today.
Right. So to Maggie, I would, just check our dashboard on our website, and hopefully those that'll have the numbers as we know them to date. And I understand we will also be finalizing staff numbers, I guess, tomorrow. So that will continue to be updated going forward. Oh, here's a good question. Who are your favorite collegiate and pro teams?
Well, I would have to say, from a collegiate standpoint, I would have to go with Baylor. I do have 2 degrees from Baylor. I've spent we did my undergrad work there. And then also after receiving my master's at the University of North Texas, I went back to Baylor to complete my doctoral degree.
Mm-hmm.
So Baylor is probably my number one college that I support, whether they're whatever sport they're playing at the time. They've struggled a little bit the last couple of years in football, but we're going to get back. As far as pro teams, obviously I love football, to be honest with you. That's probably the sport that I watch the most, that I support the most. And I would like to say that because I've grown up here my whole life, that I am a Dallas Cowboy fan. And sometimes that's been a little frustrating the last, couple, 3 years, but especially this year. But I am a Dallas Cowboy fan, and I love baseball as well. So all the local teams, I love the Rangers, but the football and baseball are probably my two favorite sports. So I would say the local teams, the Cowboys and the Rangers, definitely there. So. Oh, Dr. Faltys is jumping back in here.
I didn't wear my maroon tie, but I was expecting a little Aggie. At Carroll Elementary being there Monday, I know Miss Wagner probably indoctrinated you on the Aggie.
Now, what school is that? Where is that?
It's just east of Baylor, so you can find it.
Okay, I'll look it up. I really hadn't heard that much about it. I'll look it up and see.
Now, we're pretty quiet people.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Well, there's a lot of Baylor Bears in Southlake, so you will be right at home. All right, next question. What is your plan for your first few weeks, months in your new position?
Well, I think the first few weeks and even months, it's going to be a lot of listening and a lot of learning. I mean, my role, my job right now is really just to understand, to get to know the district, and to get to know the people, and to get to know the students, and build relationships with the community. So really, I'm going to have a structure, of trying to get out and about and to really get to know our staff. So for, I've already started setting up meetings with various community members, elected officials, and then also with staff. And so I will have an opportunity to hopefully build some relationships with everyone there. And then also I'm going to take the time to visit each campus, and I'm going to spend probably a half a day to, most of the day on each campus here in the next week or two. I will go and be there for drop off and arrival of our students, and then have a chance to tour the facility and have a chance really just to sit down with each principal and hear what makes Carroll ISD so great. And then also hear information, about kind of are there any challenges that we face, and what are the things that I need to know if they were in my shoes, what would they focus on, that type of thing. And then I'm going to have an opportunity to sit down with the staff, and the whole COVID situation makes this very difficult. In an ideal situation, I would go in and I would sit with each grade level or department during their lunches and just have a very informal conversation and just gather as much data as I can, but more importantly, build relationships with staff and get to know them. I think it's important before anything is implemented or before any change is initiated. I have to understand really what the concerns are or what needs to be done. Obviously, great things are happening. So, we got to continue with what's going on. And if we need to tweak some things here and there, we can do that. If we need to continue doing what we're doing, we continue doing what we're doing. But I won't know that until I really have a chance to dig in and get to know the staff and do those kind of things. So beyond just the campuses, of course, I'll meet with departments and have a chance to interact with them, with our technology department and personnel and all the various departments within the organization. And then also, like I said before, just getting involved in the community. I know there's a lot of community groups out there that I want to go and just get involved in and meet people. And like I said, some of our elected officials, city council, and just really find out what makes this place so great. I think I have an idea, but what can we continue to build on and keep those things moving forward as we go? So that really will probably be about the first, I'm thinking 2 to 3 months, the way I've got it written down, the way I'll present it to the board on next Monday night is really kind of a 90-day plan. And really it's a lot of listening and a lot of learning. Now, at the same time, I want to make it very clear that I'm going to, I'll be managing and running the day-to-day operations of the district, and we'll make sure that things are running smoothly. And there'll be some things that come up obviously on a daily basis that have to be done, and decisions will have to be made. But in terms of that strategic big picture vision and the district as a whole and where we go moving forward, that's going to take some time. That takes time for me to listen and learn. And then, following that process, then we will be looking at the next strategic plan for the district, which will very much involve community, very much involve staff, and we'll involve students to take all of that input, and then the input from those involved in the committees to really kind of set the foundation for the next several years for Carroll ISD.
Yeah, that's great. And I know that didn't you already have kind of a Zoom chat or something similar with staff yesterday?
I did, and it was very similar to this. It was more of just a introduction. I would have loved to have had an opportunity and to go to each campus in their cafeterias, or have here at the administration building, have a gathering where I could just shake hands and meet people. Unfortunately, in the situation we're in, that's difficult to do. So I'm having to be flexible and adapt. Probably not ideal. It's not the way I would have preferred to do it, but we're having to just make that work. So I did. I had a quick Zoom session with all staff that could join about 3:45 yesterday. And so we had, I think, 200 or 300 people on that. It wasn't something they had to be a part of, but I just wanted to share a little bit about how excited I am to be in Carroll ISD.
Yeah, great. All right. Here we have another question from one of our, from Facebook. When can we pick up the work on the DDC? We've been waiting for you to get started and for your direction and leadership. So I think I'll take this one because I do actually have a statement to read, because we assumed and we were pretty certain someone from the community would want to know where we are with the process and what happens next, because it's obviously important to us as well. But as you know, there is a temporary restraining order that remains in place against Carroll ISD, preventing us from taking any action to meet and discuss the work of the DDC. And so CISD is going to continue, of course, to honor that restriction. There will be an appropriate time for us to engage the community in discussion and feedback, but out of respect for the legal process and the current temporary restraining order that's in place, we will not be able to address any questions about the work of the DDC tonight, and really kind of what you say, Dr. Ledbetter, in the near future until that TRO is removed. And so right now we're just kind of on hold.
That's correct. And I think we are, I've had a couple people reach out with a similar question, wanting to meet or have conversations about that. And please know that we anticipate wanting to move forward and work through the process. It's just we're limited on what we can do right now based on that restraining order. So we're gonna honor that and look forward to the day when we can come back and really work through that process.
All right, another question from Facebook. How can the Carroll ISD parents be most helpful to you as you carry out your new role and responsibilities? That's a great question. That is a great question. And I think, I would say just being open, being honest, and providing that feedback that, there will be avenues by which we'll gather input from community. I will have some probably opportunities to meet in groups or through Zoom similar to this as we move forward with various groups in the community. I will also have opportunities moving forward to meet with some of our booster groups and different things like that. So when I have an opportunity to meet, just being, sharing concerns, sharing thoughts, sharing the great things happening, just to help me as I gather information moving forward. But I think, the thing I would ask is that, we're going to continue to do great things. I mean, like I said before, Dr. Faltys and others in this district have established a tremendous foundation of where this district is and tremendous reputation across the nation. So there's not a lot that has to be changed right now. So but if there's things that need to be addressed, then I think we look at that and have conversation about it. So I think the parents just really being open and honest and providing that input when necessary, and being, I think, supportive and just being flexible and understanding that it's this is a process. It's not going to be something that, things don't change overnight, that it's going to be something that we're going to work through. And we really, as we move forward, I think what I'm most excited about is that, after this few weeks of gathering input and really hoping to build those relationships with those in the community, then we get a chance to really dig in and set that foundation in that strategic plan for the next several years. And I think at that point, that's where we're going to have community and staff involved in that. And I think that's where we set the goals and the expectations and the objectives and the measures. What is it that this community values? What are
what are the measures that we want to improve upon moving forward as a district? And so we can embed that into that strategic plan. And that kind of gives us the blueprint moving forward for the next 3 to 5 years as to what we need to work on as a district. And what do we need to do to continue this environment of excellence that we already have? And so I think that's really what I'm most excited about. Is I know there's high expectations. There's high expectations of the students in this district. There's high expectations of the staff, and there's going to be very high expectations of me to make sure that we continue to improve on everything that we do. And I welcome that. I just ask right off here that we, have a little bit of patience as we move forward and sort through this. It's gonna take a little time here to get to know everything, and then I'll assure you we will, in partnership with the board and this community, we're going to set some direction moving forward that I think we all can embrace and work together moving forward. So I'm excited about that and hopefully, that whole process moving forward later this spring or throughout the fall of next year. So.
Right. Because, and I appreciate you sharing that, because I think, we've been talking about launching that strategic planning process this spring, but I think in our discussions, the board with you, knowing that we don't want to, rush it. We want you to have the time to, get your footing in the district, start building those relationships, get to better understand, what are the needs, opportunities, challenges, what's working great, what's, what needs, some focus going into that strategic planning process. So, and that's going to be really important. And we'll definitely be relying on the community, our parents, our staff, our students, to be, part of that process and to have a voice, and be engaged to get us to that plan.
Absolutely.
So let's see. Oh, we have Dr. Faltys coming back. Oh, here we go. So this, I will address this to both of you. So ask both of you to respond to this. What qualities do you believe make a good superintendent?
Oh, I thought we were just putting Dr. Faltys on there as the example of the perfect super. I thought it was just. No. I thought that was the answer that was coming up on the screen.
That's got to be it. No, absolutely not. I was about to say Lane Ledbetter. So, I mean, and I'll let Lane chime in, but I know in Carroll they want somebody who's there, that's present, that's supporting their kids. That if you can be everywhere you can be, but they also know that you have a family and you need to take care of them as well. But I know there's a tremendous value on presence. There's value on transparency, being as open and honest as possible, legally possible, right, where you can. And I think the ability to sit down and talk to people, whether it's staff members or kids or parents, and hear them and understand them and have empathy and just that ability to listen. And then obviously the ability to lead strong and know that people know that you're in charge. With that, Lane, I'd let you take the rest of it.
Yeah, no, I think absolutely. I mean, I don't know that I have a lot to add to that. I think that, I think initially, I know I've used the term listening a lot, and I think you have to listen. I mean, obviously the schools are the community schools, and they're for the kids. And so we're here to serve the parents in this community and the students here, and of course the staff. And so it's not about me. It wasn't about Dr. Faltys. It's not about any staff. It's about the students, and it's about this community, and it's about Carroll ISD. And so recognizing that we're here to serve a variety of perspectives and a variety of philosophies and a variety of experiences, and how do we reach every kid and serve every parent the best way possible. And then, I know it's kind of probably a generic term, but I firmly believe it. I think integrity is important. I think that you do what you say you're going to do. That I mean, it's a simple fact, but you follow policies, you respect the people in this community, and you do what you say you're going to do. I think that's important, that you're honest and that your integrity is that has to be with you at all times. So, I think we could go on and on probably with a lot of descriptors about, great superintendents and what it takes to be a great superintendent. But I just think it comes down to serving and that you have to ensure that people can trust you, and that comes from your word and what you say, and then what you actually do. So, and absolutely, I go back to what you said about presence. I mean, from my perspective, I think it's very important that a superintendent is involved in the the activities of our kids, whether it's a choir concert or a band concert. And sometimes as a superintendent, that's the thing that seems to, that's what excites you. You get to see, your kids are in school all day and they're working, they're practicing, they're on the field at 5 in the morning or 6 in the morning and late at night. But when you go and you get to see the fruits of their labor and what they've been working on, it just excites you because you feel in some small way you're a part of that you had something to do with that. I know we're, unfortunately in this position, we're a little bit further away from the kids than why we got into this profession in the first place. But it's fun to go to those events and feel like, hey, you kind of had in some small way some part of that. So anyway, I know I kind of got off track there on what the actual question was, but anyway.
No, I think you nailed it on the head. Now, you mentioned getting out on the shop floor, just to see what's going on in the classrooms and the fields and the band halls and making sure there's smiles on kids' faces because we've got incredible kids that'll do great things.
Right.
I'm feeling really good about the decision we made to hire you. So right now,
well, that's good because I would hate if you were not feeling that right. I would hope that you wouldn't have voiced that right now. But.
All right. Now we're moving on to the next question. Will students have an open opportunity for direct communication with you? What does that look like?
So absolutely. I think, I've mentioned several times that this is, this district is about us and we, and obviously the biggest part of that is our students. And so I do like to have input from our students as we, listen and gather information. And so in previous opportunities that I've been in, previous jobs that I've been in, I've created a superintendent's advisory council, student advisory council type group where I have students that I meet with on a regular basis and gather input because I do think it's important. Just as much as I think it's important that we understand the perspective of our principals, we understand the perspective of our teachers. You have to understand the perspective of the students because obviously we're here to serve them as well. And so, yes, we will have situations where we'll have some systems in place where we meet with students. But over the next 2 to 3 months, where I'm just gathering input, when I go visit the campuses, I will definitely have some informal conversations with kids as I visit classrooms. And once again, I hate to keep going back to it, but it's going to be a little bit different than I would from an ideal situation, just based on where we are with COVID. But yes, definitely, students will have opportunities, and then we will definitely do some things through Zoom where I can gather some information for students. In fact, I've got in my plan the opportunity to visit with some of our student leadership groups on campuses. So I'd like to, as I make the rounds to campuses, maybe do that. And I'm not sure, once again, what that's going to look like, but just initially meeting with our student leaders on each campus. And so absolutely, I think it's important that students have a voice in what's going on in the district. And you mentioned it earlier about the strategic plan that we will definitely have. We'll probably have some student groups as part of that, at least provide some feedback, and then we'll probably have some students that probably sit on some of those committees. So,
yeah, that's wonderful. I think there's a lot of students in our district that have things to share, and I think one of the things that we've been hearing is making sure that there's an avenue for them to have a voice.
Right.
And so I appreciate you making sure you're taking time to make that possible. So thank you. What have you learned about education during the COVID-19 pandemic? Oh gosh.
Wow. Okay. So that's
day one of you being superintendent, you had a lot going on related to COVID. Yeah.
Right. So this, just from in education in general, I think that we are very flexible and adaptable. I think through this whole, from an education perspective, we were thrust into transforming what we do. We've looked at, we've looked at virtual education in the past, and there have been pockets of excellence with virtual education. But I think through this, educators have been forced in some respects to transition straight to virtual learning. And now we've shown that it can be done. Are we perfect at it? Is it being done the best way possible? Probably not, because you learn as you go, and there will be things that we can improve without a doubt moving forward. But I think what we've shown is that our teachers are resilient and that they're dedicated, and that because they're passionate about what they do, they're going to do what they have to do to make it work. Our teachers are doing so many things that they never thought they would have to do in education. And they're doing it with great attitudes, and they're having to venture out and learn things that they didn't know initially on how to engage kids in a virtual environment. I mean, most of our teachers are excellent at engaging kids in our classrooms and doing things to make the classroom exciting and to facilitate that. But now, not only did you have to do that, now you have to transition that to a virtual world. And how do you create that same type of environment? And not only that, we're asking teachers to now do that in some cases with virtual kids and face-to-face kids all in the same class. And so I think if nothing else, we've shown that our teachers have risen to the occasion. I think every time in education we ask something of our teachers, they rise to that occasion and they make it happen. They make it work because they care about kids and they're passionate about this profession. They're going to do whatever they have to do to create the best environment for their kids because they love kids. And like I said, I've been overwhelmed, honestly, by what teachers across the state have done throughout this pandemic and what we've asked them to do on short notice and the planning and the preparation that they've had to do. So our teachers in general have put in more time and energy into this than anyone could have ever imagined. So I just can't say enough great things about what our teachers have done. And that's where, when I talked to the staff yesterday, I know a big number of the individuals on that call were teachers. I mean, it is about understanding that they're not going to be perfect right now. We're asking them to do things they can't do. So perfection is not even in the picture. It's about trying to do the best you can, taking risks, taking chances, try to engage our kids, create an environment where they develop a passion for that subject or for that class, and give yourself some grace. Because I know so many of our teachers are, they're type A personalities and they want to get it done and they've had this perfect plan and they want it all planned out and they want to do it because they want their kids to not only exceed, they want them to excel in everything that they do. And so they feel pressure when that student who's online is not engaged at the level that he or she should be, but yet they've got these 12 kids in class that they're trying to engage. And so they put that pressure on themselves to reach every kid. And that's what makes our educators so great. But at some point you have to give yourself some grace and realize that because the environment we've been pushed into, we're not going to be perfect. And so we have to be willing to give our teachers some grace, but at the same time, as leaders, we have to give them grace as well and understand that they're doing the best they can in something that they didn't know a year and a half ago they were going to be involved in, that they were going to have to do a year ago at this point, not even a year ago. So I've been overwhelmed really by what teachers across the state have been doing.
Yeah, and I think as you speak to our teachers and do your campus visits, I guess I'll speak for the board that if you identify things that we should and can be doing, please bring it to us at the board. If it's more resources or different. I don't know if the technology needs to be, different things in terms of technology or training or whatever it might be. Please know that our teachers, I echo everything you're saying. Thank you for saying that because they are doing an incredible job under really difficult circumstances. Right. And we continue to, the expectations are really high. And we need to take care of our teachers, right? Absolutely. And make sure that they have what they need to be successful in the current environment. So I appreciate you saying that. Okay. Well, staying on the topic of COVID-19, what have you learned about yourself as a leader during the pandemic?
Well, I think a lot. I think it kind of goes back to kind of what I said that teachers were thrust into, is that we had to become so much more flexible and adaptable. And I think if nothing else, I know communication is of the utmost importance in everything that we do, and it always has been. But throughout this pandemic, it has become even more important because especially when this all started, and Dr. Faltys, you may want to address it from a Carroll ISD perspective, but from my previous experience, it was, we were making decisions that had to be made very quickly back in March, and April, and May. Mm-hmm. Making decisions based on information that we had, and then within 24 hours, that information would change and might go 180 degrees a different direction. And so we had to come back out to our staff and our community and be able to explain that. And so we created environments like this right here to really just do community, to involve the community so they understood what we were dealing with. So I think one thing that just was all was confirmed or affirmed to me was just the utmost importance of communication and getting the information out there, but then also being flexible enough to understand that it's rapidly changing. And this is, there is, you've got to have, I think, and then the last thing I'll say on that question is that it helped me to realize that you've got to have systems in place, because you've got to have, who's making decisions, who's monitoring that, who's going to communicate it. And so it just, systems throughout the district, systems in an organization are so important, especially when something like that happens. And I won't say that, I guess I learned that because ours were not perfect at the time. And so we had to immediately put some things in place so that we weren't just, so that at least we were prepared and when the changes came down. So I think the flexibility, adaptability, and just absolutely the importance of communication. So.
No, I'd absolutely agree. No, I'd absolutely agree with you, and really developing that network with people like you and the other folks around our area, because like you said, information was coming at us from all sides, whether it was from the county or the state, or CDC would put out information, TEA would give us guidance, and then turn around and change that guidance before we could even, get that information out. It was confusing for our community, for our parents, for our staff, for teachers, and for us. And I watched a lot of staff members, teachers, and administrators put in a lot of time and effort to try to do the best they could for our kids, and it was a worldwide pandemic, and so we're still dealing with it, still trying to figure it out. But I think you're right. I think communication. I think calm in the face of the storm.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to get out there and really put a smile on your face when things were tough. Just make sure that everybody knew that we'll take care of this, love on our kids, take care of our students, make sure our teachers know that we're there for them, and never let you, kind of like that duck. He looks all calm above surface, knowing those little feet are paddling like crazy below the water. And so, like I said, there are mistakes made, but they were all, I think everybody was going as fast as they could with all good intentions as information was coming to us, but always keeping your focus on students and making sure we can support our staff and serving their needs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Faltys. All right, here we have another Facebook question. Is there a rollout plan for vaccinating our teachers, cafeteria workers, custodians, and bus drivers?
Okay, so we're kind of working through the protocols moving forward within COVID, and I'm really trying to understand, digging into the details of Carroll ISD and the way that's been handled in the past. But with respect to the vaccination, I was actually on a call this afternoon with Tarrant County, and they have, I believe, I don't know if we've put this out yet, but I know our nurses have been prioritized as far as receiving the vaccine. And I believe they've actually received their first round of that. We truly don't have any word yet on where our teachers will be with respect to priority on the vaccine. I think we're very much awaiting that word. And we'd love, as soon as we know something, we will definitely get that information out there, because we definitely want them to be involved in that and feel like they need to be. It's just a matter of, the county making some decisions on where we are on the priority list. So.
I appreciate that. And I just want to do a shout out to our viewers tonight. We have, I think, about 170 viewers watching us. So thank you for being with us tonight and taking some time out of your evening to be with us. So here's another get to know Dr. Ledbetter question. If you could pick a job outside of education, what would it be?
That's a great question. And I would not want to do anything outside of education. Let me make that up. Let me say that up front. Because what I said at the very beginning, it is, I knew a long time ago that this is what I was going to do. And with my parents and what they did, I have a true passion for this profession. I have a passion for education, and I want to fight for students and do what I can do to help in that environment. Thinking outside of education, to me, I think outside this profession, and I would love, to go to a university at some point way down the road and teach and do some things like that. But that's still in education. So there's always been this little bit of me, and some of you are going to laugh when you hear this, that really kind of wanted or would have considered maybe being an attorney or going to law school or something like that. I love the research aspect of that. I love just the, so if I had to choose anything else, I could see that possibly. But other than that, I know, I feel like I'm in the right place. And so I really don't think a lot about outside of education. So how's that for being very vague in that?
Well, it could have been like, a baseball player.
That's
like,
true. That's true. But after my experiences here at Carroll High School, I knew that was probably not going to happen. But that's all right.
Oh, now we're going to put you on the spot.
Uh-oh.
Who was your favorite teacher in Carroll ISD when you were in school, and what made them special and memorable?
Well, I'm going to dodge this question a little bit too. So and I think, I kind of touched on this a little bit, all the teachers in Carroll back when I was in school, it was about the small campus and just having a great relationship with those teachers. And they truly care about kids just like they do now. And it was just a really special place, which has continued today. And so, when names come to mind when I was thinking back through my high school experiences right now, it's there was Miss Rylander and Miss Matthews, and of course Coach Willingham. Chauncey Willingham was actually my high school principal. Let's see, Coach Cook, Kenny Cook was my biology teacher. I'm probably bringing up some names that some people on this call don't even know who they are, but and then Coach Rushing, Al Rushing was biology. He was my algebra and geometry teacher. Coach Cook was my science teacher. He was my biology teacher. So I'm just, I started reflecting on names of people that I had, and, they were all wonderful people, and I loved all of them. And they were, because my parents were both educators and both worked in Carroll ISD at the time, they were more than just educators and teachers. They were friends of my family. And so, there's that relationship with all those people, especially, Coach Rushing and Coach Cook. And then, of course, Mr. Willingham and others. And I'm sure I probably shouldn't even be naming names, because somebody's going to text me and say, I can't believe you didn't mention my name. But I'm just reflecting back on the people that I had there that were working here when I was in school. But it was a great place then. I'm certain it's as great or even better now than it was. But once again, they were all tremendous teachers. And I felt, I went off to Baylor University and felt tremendously prepared going in there, and feel great about a way that each one of those teachers, not only from an education standpoint, but just the way they invested in me and invested in all students on the campuses.
Yeah. And when you came back to Carroll ISD to teach, what was the subject again that you were teaching?
So I taught science.
Science.
I was teaching biology. Of course, at that time I was teaching physical science. Actually, my degree was composite science. So I was certified to teach biology, chemistry, physics, any of the sciences. Oh, so I loved science. When I went to Baylor, that was what my focus was at the time. So
yeah, great. All right, and just to remind all of our viewers that tonight's Dragon Chat Live is being recorded, and it will be uploaded probably in the next day or so to our Dragon YouTube channel. So if you want to let your friends and neighbors know that that's where you or weren't able to see the whole thing and want to kind of see the beginning or whatnot, that's where you can find tonight's recording. All right, so I know you mentioned, okay, so in terms of activities, I know you mentioned you played baseball, played football. What other activities were you involved in? Any clubs?
So a lot of it revolved, around athletic activities and sports. And, I think early in high school, I played everything. I played football, basketball, baseball. And, I'll go back to what I said at the beginning. It was a very small school. At that time, we had I think there were 130 in my graduating class, so probably 500, 600 in the high school total. So you could participate in a lot of things. I was by no means a great athlete or even probably a good athlete, but because of the size of the school, I was able to participate in a lot of things. So I really loved being able to participate in all those activities. In middle school, I was actually in the band. So in middle school, you played everything. So I was in the band program there. And then, of course, I'm trying to think other activities, but at that time there were probably not even near the number of activities that you could participate in that you can now at Carroll High School. But yeah, those are some of the things that I participate in.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And here's a question from one of our viewers. How are we going to promote empathy within the schools?
That's a great question. And I think that is obviously a very important question. I think it's something that just from society in general, that's something that we have to begin to build more of into all individuals. And so I think for me, it's going to have to be really digging into finding out really what are we doing at this point from a programs perspective. What are we doing to build that into each campus? How are we doing character development and those kind of things to help understand differing perspectives and understand different individuals and backgrounds. And so to me, that it's really about being able to take a step back and understand that everyone is different. And so I think looking at that as I have conversations with principals as we move forward, I know whoever, I didn't notice the name, but whoever asked the specific question, it's going to take a little bit of time. And I know you want an answer to say, we're going to implement this program and this is what we're going to do. And I think it's going to take a little bit of time to really dig into what we are doing and then what kind of systematic approach can we put into place to make sure that we're building all those things into our kids. And I'm certain that we are, but we want to be systematic about it so that we ensure all kids have that opportunity as we move forward. So it's a great question. And I wish I had a specific answer for you right now, but I think every campus is a little bit different. Every school district's a little bit different. So it's going to take some time to really dig into that and figure out what's going to be the best approach.
Yeah, and I would say, Dr. Ledbetter, connecting with our counselors, right? There's, we have some tremendous and extraordinary counselors on our campuses, focused on the social and emotional wellness of our kids. And I think they could provide some insight, to you about what we're doing and what more we could be doing, right?
Absolutely. And I think that, the social emotional piece is critical. And I think every district right now across the state is really looking to how we can truly reach the, we're not just teaching them math and science. It's about developing that whole child. And that's something we've always tried to do as educators. And I think it's become even more important that we do that. So absolutely. The social emotional side of that is absolutely, I was focused more just on the empathy aspect of that, but there are so many pieces that need to be included in that whole realm of social emotional learning. And absolutely, I'm confident that our counselors have some great systems in place, great programs in place. And it's really just going to be taking a step back, evaluating that and see what else we can do if we need to do anything, or maybe just build on what we already have in place.
Now we're going to, so this question brings me back to our interview process, right? So I remember kicking off the interview and asking you, why were you applying for the position? And so I think it'd be great for the community to hear that answer, because I know I was personally very impressed and appreciated how your candor and I felt it just warmed my heart to hear that your response. Yeah. But then, I'd love to hear about, accepting the position, because, that was pretty exciting too, when I was, able to give you a call and move things forward. So,
well, yeah. I would say, my first response would be, if you're in the public school business as a superintendent, really even from a national perspective. So the big picture answer I will say is, why wouldn't you be interested in the job at Carroll ISD? Because of the reputation of this district and what people, when you're outside of Carroll ISD and you talk to in other districts, people look to Carroll ISD in many ways for many things. It doesn't matter if it's curriculum instruction, it doesn't matter if it's personnel, it doesn't matter what the situation is. People want to know what Carroll's doing because of the success, because of the reputation in this community and the reputation in the state and the reputation nationwide. What can we do to emulate what they're doing? So big picture answer is, why not? Why wouldn't I be interested? Why wouldn't everybody be interested in that? But the second thing is, So when I went to Midlothian, that's where I've been for the last 6 years. We got there and fell in love with it. Truly, it is a great place. We've had a lot of success there. We've been able to do a lot of things. I had a tremendous staff, group of people that I worked with. My kids got involved in that community, got involved in the schools, were tied in, and really had a lot of success. And we're very happy in Midlothian. And I remember telling my wife, we'd been there about 1.5 to 2 years. And I said, this is the place we're going to stay. Our kids are going to all of our kids are going to graduate from Midlothian, from Heritage High School. And I said, but there's one situation where they might not. And that is if the opportunity came about where I could go back to Carroll ISD as superintendent, then I would jump at that chance. I said, that would be the only situation that I would consider. And so, obviously when the opportunity came about, the timing was not perfect with my kids, but excuse me, I knew that was something that I wanted to do. I mean, I think it's a tremendous district. Like I said, tremendous reputation, and like I said to y'all, I'm honored to be serving in this position. I'm honored to follow someone like Dr. Faltys, who's been here for 15 years and done a tremendous job and continue to raise the bar year after year after year. And it's not easy to go into a situation like that. But at the same time, it's Carroll ISD, and my family has been invested here. My mom and dad, like I mentioned earlier, were educators here for many years. We moved to Southlake in 1979 when I was in the 3rd grade. And so to have the opportunity to come back and be a part of this district again was something that I was excited about. There's not many people in this community that probably have as much pride of being a Dragon than my mom and dad do. And we come back here all the time. As you can imagine, we were in Southlake a lot over the last, I guess, I'm trying to think 20 plus years since I taught here. And so it's always been in the back of my mind to say, if that ever came about, I'm gonna pursue that. And so it was really there wasn't a question about accepting it once y'all felt like that I was the one that you wanted to select. And so once that offer was made, then I was very excited to do that. And I'll tell you what, and I think I mentioned this in the board meeting the other day, it's, my anxiety was about my own kids. There was no anxiety for me taking this job. There was no anxiety for me applying for this job. Even though I'm coming from a tremendous situation, I knew I wanted to be in Carroll ISD. My anxiety was for my own kids. And for them, when we said we're going to go be Dragons, they said, well, we want to go ahead and start in January. We want to start when you start, and we want to start to build those relationships. And I'm talking about a 17-year-old kid and a 14-year-old kid. And they've had probably 3 tremendous days. I haven't talked to them, much about it this afternoon, but they've had tremendous days. So I know that I made the right decision. And I without going too far in depth, it was, I know that I'm supposed to be here just from the way that doors continue to open, that we were blessed and just through my wife and I and our conversations and praying about it. And, doors continue to open and things continue to happen where we knew that this was the right place. And we're going to do our best to serve this district in the best way possible. And by no means will it be perfect. And I'll probably make a few decisions that are not what, everyone wants. And I may make some bad decisions here and there. I probably made some today. I don't know. But I can assure you one thing, and that is that we're going to make decisions that are best for the kids, best for the students, all students. And then we're going to support and provide the resources necessary for our teachers to do the best job they can. And we're going to move the district in the direction that the community feels like we need to go. So it's going to be all of us working together. But I don't know if that's the way I answered the question in the interview. I hope it was.
No,
I hope that's what you wanted.
I just fell in love all over again, right? And so I think now our Dragon families did too. Obviously I'm a board member, but I'm a parent first, right? And I want the leader in my school district to say exactly what you just said. Yeah. And so I appreciate that. And I think our families will as well. And I think more than anything that came through is that we hear you saying it, but we can feel it right from here too. So So thank you for being, very candid and transparent about that.
Absolutely.
But of course, we know your dad likely gave you advice either when you were thinking about applying, when you were interviewing, and probably when you accepted the position. So what can you share about that?
So yes, I mentioned, my mom and dad both have tremendous pride for Carroll ISD, and so from an advice, just from a general perspective, they're very excited, obviously, that I've been given this opportunity. But from an advice standpoint, I'm trying to think. Obviously he is very proud of the district, and so I think continuing the standard of excellence. But I think more than anything, his advice to me is, don't get caught up in all the details when you're in a leadership position. And this is just in general, there's going to be good days, bad days. There's going to be negatives. There's going to be positives. But this is an incredible place, an incredible opportunity, and you need to take it and run with it and do the best you can. And there's always going to be critics. But if you're doing what's best for kids and you're making decisions that are best for kids, and you're supporting the community and the parents and the staff and the students in doing that, then you really can't make a bad decision necessarily, if you're basing it on that. But I think more than anything, my mom and dad are, like I said, very excited. But I think their advice is just, we're very blessed to be here and just enjoy it, and be excited about the situation, and just continue to move forward and do the best that you can. So
yeah, and they're going to be very happy that you're just kind of around the corner.
Yes, absolutely.
Down the way.
So I'm sure he gave Dr. Faltys a lot of advice over the last few years. So probably was a little bit different than what I just responded.
Your dad has given me advice. He's pulled me over a few times, and then your mom's followed up and probably given me the correct advice. If,
there you go.
Your family's anything like mine. So
absolutely.
No. Great. Well, Lane, I would just like to say one thing that struck me as you were talking. There's kind of a saying, and again, they say it a lot east of Waco, but from the outside looking in, you can't understand it. From the inside looking out, you can't explain it. And that's a lot of how we feel about our Dragon families, our Dragon kids, our Dragon culture. And as a guy who has served 5,475 days as the superintendent of schools in Carroll ISD, I'm hopeful that you're able to put in that many days, because it's a tremendous honor to serve the community and the kids of Carroll ISD. And to Michelle on the board, I think you guys have really hit a home run here, and I'm excited to have Dr. Lane Ledbetter leading the school district. And it's an emotional time for me because, as I said, we love this place. I've got we came here when my sophomore was a 9-month-old baby, so we'll have 2 kindergartens and a first grade grad, and one who's a pediatric dentist who went through our medical academy program here. So it's a great place, and I'm thrilled to be a part of this event tonight, and I'm thrilled to hand the baton to you, and you're going to do amazing things with our staff, their students, and the kids of Carroll ISD. So welcome to Carroll.
Thank you.
Well, Dr. Ledbetter, do you have any parting? We've kind of hit the hour, which we kind of committed to. So if you have any parting words for our community as we kind of move forward, the floor is yours. Okay.
Well, I think probably what I would say, I've probably gone into detail tonight, and that is that, I want to build that relationship with this community. And so I'm here to serve. I'm here to listen. If you have questions or comments or concerns, my door's open. I want to be available. I want to be open to what you have to say. But I know that that's a challenge because it's a large district and there's a lot of students and a lot of individuals involved. But we're gonna continue to do great things. Continue to build on the work that Dr. Faltys and others have put in place. And so, other than that, I hope it's been clear that I'm very excited to be here, very honored to be here, very honored to serve this district. And I look forward to getting out and about and getting involved in the community and getting involved with the staff over the weeks and months to come. And, I look forward to, once we get kind of that blueprint in place and talk about where, from a direction standpoint, and we can really start focusing our efforts. And, it's difficult at an event like this to really talk specifics because I don't know yet. We're still digging into the details. I've been here now, like you said at the beginning, 3 days. And so I can assure you it's tremendous people and tremendous students. I know that. I've already figured that out. And it's an amazing place. But I just look forward to getting to know everyone and really digging in and getting involved. And once again, very, very honored to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. So I'm so glad we did this. And so thank you to both of you for being part of tonight's event. Thank you to all of our Dragon families and students and community members that are out there on Facebook watching. We appreciate you taking the time again to be with us tonight. One thing that I did want to mention, Dr. Faltys, we had planned a retirement party reception, back in December. We had to postpone it, and right now it's kind of postponed until we can bring a large gathering. But I just want to make sure the community knows that we will have a retirement celebration at some point, early 2020, so early 2021, sorry. But right now, we're not ready to set a date until, kind of things calm down, hopefully, and large gatherings are allowed again. So with that, I think we have, I think that kind of closes us out for tonight. So I guess good night, everyone. And I know that I guess I want to just close by saying, Dr. Ledbetter, I sit here, and if there's any other trustees, I think on tonight's Dragon Chat Live, we were just reminded of why we all wanted you to be our hire, right? So thank you for just being as transparent as you were. I think your vision for how you want to move things forward is exactly what we need right now, and I appreciate that. So
thank you.
We're excited to kind of roll up the sleeves and work alongside you to move Carroll ISD forward.
Great, thank you.
All right, with that, good night, everyone.
Good night.